Tutorial 3. Calculating Pattern Alterations. Part 1. Let us start doing calculations for our pattern. I have drawn a table on my writing board and filled out all relevant columns. Let me list the measurements I'm going to use. Column 1. Bust front, under bust front, bust circumference, under bust circumference, waist circumference, stomach circumference, 13 centimeters below the waistline, hip circumference, 22 centimeters below the waistline. It's very important to know where exactly you took these measurements. It becomes particularly urgent when you're sewing a slim-fit dress. For example, a mermaid dress, because the side contour of the client's body is crucial then. Therefore, you need to know precisely at what distance from the waistline you're taking the hip circumference measurement. Bust middle, clip, back width, between the shoulder straps at the back, height of the corner for attaching shoulder straps. The last three measurements, back width, between the shoulder straps, and corner height, are only taken in this case if you want to add corners for attaching shoulder straps at the back. Arm's eye circumference. This measurement is required in order to pre-cut a shoulder strap, secure it on the dress, and adjust its proper length during a fitting. Let's begin calculating. I will give you detailed explanations. There is a lot to discuss because we are dealing with a non-standard figure with full breasts, a thin waist, and moderate hips. This woman has a beautiful silhouette. But, as you will see, it requires a lot greater values to adjust the pattern along the bust line than along the hip line. Her waist circumference coincides with that on the pattern. Such body proportions are quite common, and people often ask me how to calculate and build a pattern for a similar figure. You always start calculating from the first top lines of the table, looking to the bust front and under bust front measurements. This allows you to determine the location of the side seam. But there's something unexpected waiting right ahead. Bust front measurement: 56 centimeters on the client and 49 centimeters on the pattern. 56 centimeters minus 49 centimeters equals 7 centimeters. I divide it in half because there are two side seams. Now, it's obvious that I need to expand the pattern by 3.5 centimeters from each side. Under bust front measurement: 41 centimeters on the client and 40 centimeters on the pattern. 41 centimeters minus 40 centimeters equals 1 centimeter. I divide it in half to account for two side seams. It turns out I need to expand the pattern by only 0.5 centimeters from each side. My students usually get puzzled here. What to do? What adjustment value to choose to expand the pattern now? Where to take guidance from? The second thing you need to pay attention to is the clip measurement. It's not all that simple in our case. The thing is, we are going to use a different pattern for each side of the dress. A strapless pattern and a pattern with a corner for attaching shoulder straps at the back. These patterns have unlike clip measurements. I have written one above the other. Column 3. Clip measurement on the strapless pattern: 11.5 centimeters towards the arm's eye or the underarm, 10 centimeters from the apex of the bust to the top edge of the corset, and 9 centimeters from the bust line to the top of the corset. Clip measurement on the side of the front that will feature a corner: 12.5 centimeters towards the arm's eye, and the height of the corner is 11 centimeters. My client's clip measurement: 14 centimeters to the underarm, 14 centimeters from the bust line to the neckline, and the height of the corner is 10 centimeters. What value should I take? If you use the strapless pattern as a guide, then you need to add the following value to the clip measurement: 14 centimeters minus 11.5 centimeters equals 2.5 centimeters. If you use the corner pattern as a guide, then you need to add the following value to the clip measurement. 14 centimeters minus 12.5 centimeters equals 1.5 centimeters. The clip measurements are pointing at the adjustment values of 2.5 centimeters and 1.5 centimeters, while the bust front and the under bust front measurements are pointing at 3.5 centimeters and 0.5 centimeters. At the first glance, you have no idea how to calculate pattern adjustments in this case. All values are absolutely different. But don't be distressed. It is not a big deal. You should be able to imagine in what way you are going to alter the pattern after looking at the clip and the side seam configuration. Suppose you shift the side seam outwards by 3.5 centimeters, and you need to shift it by 1.5 centimeters or 2.5 centimeters in the underarm area. Shifting the side seam outwards by 3.5 centimeters will result in shifting it by about 3 centimeters in the underarm area. In other words, 3.5 centimeters is a slightly too large adjustment value. But if you shift the side seam by 3 centimeters, it will get shifted by 2 to 2.5 centimeters in the underarm area. And that's exactly what you want. It's how you achieve necessary adjustment values for the clip measurement. Let's write 3 centimeters in the table. Column 4, lines 3 through 7. You could also write 2.5 centimeters. It wouldn't be bad either. But I felt like taking 3 centimeters to make a round value. It's my own subjective opinion. Feel free to take 2.5 centimeters if you prefer. I just thought it would be better to adopt an adjustment value that's closer to our calculations to avoid shifting the side seam way too far towards the front. It's why I have opted for 3 centimeters. Please note that the column of our table is titled Side Front Adjusted. We might recalculate things later. There are no alterations in the bust middle measurements. I write a 0 in the table. Clip measurements. For the strapless pattern, top line, I write 2.5 centimeters, 4 centimeters, and 1 centimeter in the table. For the pattern with a corner, bottom line, I write 1.5 centimeters and 3 centimeters in the table. We won't look at the measurements of the back and the shoulder straps just yet. Let's leave the table as is at this stage. And now we need to calculate the side seam configuration at the back, column 6. We leave the adjusted side seam of the front untouched for now. Let's begin calculating. You'll see what happens after I take into account all measurements and calculations from the table. The bust front and the under bust front measurement are not involved in these calculations. I write dashes in the table, column 6. Bust circumference. It is 102 centimeters on the client and 93 centimeters on the pattern. However, I have already expanded the pattern by 3 centimeters from each side, a total of 6 centimeters. 93 centimeters plus 6 centimeters equals 99 centimeters. 102 centimeters minus 99 centimeters equals 3 centimeters. I divide it in half. As a result, I need to expand the back by 1.5 centimeters from each side. I write 1.5 centimeters in the table. Under bust circumference. It is 82 centimeters on the client and 80 centimeters on the pattern. However, I have already expanded the pattern by 3 centimeters from each side, a total of 6 centimeters. 80 centimeters plus 6 centimeters equals 86 centimeters. 82 centimeters minus 86 centimeters equals negative 4 centimeters. I divide it in half. As a result, I need to narrow the back down by 2 centimeters from each side. I write negative 2 centimeters in the table. Waist circumference. It is 75 centimeters on the client and 75 centimeters on the pattern. However, I have already expanded the pattern by 3 centimeters from each side, a total of 6 centimeters. 75 centimeters plus 6 centimeters equals 81 centimeters. 75 centimeters minus 81 centimeters equals negative 6 centimeters. I divide it in half. As a result, I need to narrow the back down by 3 centimeters from each side. I write negative 3 centimeters in the table. Stomach circumference. It is 103 centimeters on the client and 95 centimeters on the pattern. However, I have already expanded the pattern by 3 centimeters from each side, a total of 6 centimeters. 95 centimeters plus 6 centimeters equals 101 centimeters. 103 centimeters minus 101 centimeters equals 2 centimeters. I divide it in half. As a result, I need to expand the back by 1 centimeter from each side. I write 1 centimeter in the table. Hip circumference. It's 110 centimeters on the client and 103 centimeters on the pattern. However, I have already expanded the pattern by 3 centimeters from each side, a total of 6 centimeters. 103 centimeters plus 6 centimeters equals 109 centimeters. 110 centimeters minus 109 centimeters equals 1 centimeter. I divide it in half. As a result, I need to expand the back by 0.5 centimeters from each side along the stomach line. I write 0.5 centimeters in the table. Bust middle and clip measurements are not involved in these calculations. I write dashes in the table, column 6. Now that we have reached this stage of calculations, let me explain in more detail what back width and between shoulder straps back actually means. I will demonstrate it on the pattern so you can see how to construct those shoulder strap corners at the back of the corset. It's a very frequently asked question. Although I have already explained it many times on various DVDs, it seems like some of you somehow missed out on this know-how. I take the central and the side piece of the back. The central piece has a 2 centimeter seam allowance for the central seam of the back, and a 1.2 centimeter seam allowance for the princess seam. I take a ruler, measure the distance from the edge to edge in a straight line, and then subtract the seam allowances of 2 centimeters and 1.2 centimeters. What I get is a section that is 9.5 centimeters long. Now imagine the finished garment. There will be a mirrored half of the dress on the left, i.e. another central piece and another side piece. If there is 9.5 centimeters from the center of the back to the princess seam on the first central piece, then it will be the same on the other symmetric central piece. Therefore, it will make a total of 19 centimeters without the seam allowances when the client puts the dress on and zips it up. There is 19 centimeters between the princess seams at the back. I have also taken the back width measurement off my client, 38 centimeters. But this 38 centimeters is the entire width of the back. That includes both central and both side pieces. Let us determine the distance from the princess seam on the side piece to the end point of the back width measurement, or the client's arm. 38 centimeters minus 19 centimeters divided by 2 equals 9.5 centimeters. We need to mark this 9.5 centimeters from the princess seam of the side piece. That is the exact spot from which we measured the width of the back, the area that we want to cover up. In other words, this is where the back will have a rise. I record the value into the table. Of course, you could also mark 9.5 centimeters and add the seam allowance. It's even more precise. So from the edge of the seam allowance, you mark 9.5 centimeters plus 1.2 centimeters equals 10.7 centimeters. And this is the place of the rise with the seam allowance included. Now, we need to find the correct way to place the corner for the shoulder strap. For this very reason, we measure the distance between the straps. It is 26 centimeters in my client's case. We do all the same things. There is 26 centimeters between the shoulder straps and 19 centimeters between the princess seams of the back. It's raw edges put together. 26 centimeters minus 19 centimeters divided by 2 equals 3.5 centimeters. I record that value into the table. You can mark 3.5 centimeters from the seam allowance horizontally and mark the height of the corner, 26 centimeters, with a perpendicular line going upwards from the waist. That's the top point of the corner. You find the point where the line begins to arch and connect it with the top of the corner. Draw a smooth line down to the middle of the back in the other direction. I will draw it all on the writing board after we do our calculations. I will return to this issue to make sure everyone gets the hang of it. I know it always raises many questions. Our table looks like this at the moment. Let us look at our pretty side seam of the back. It's a total mess. There's a wide scatter of adjustment values. What do we do about it? We simply need to analyze all these values. There are two measurements with the greatest difference between their adjustment values: under bust circumference and waistline circumference. These are the areas that were closest to the pattern. Well, let us adjust the configuration of the side seam of the back then. There is actually nothing wrong if we take the liberty of deviating from the line drawn on the pattern. The client has a non-standard figure with ample breasts. We need to find a way out. The side seam of the front and the side seam of the back have an identical configuration on the pattern. We have expanded the front by 3 centimeters along the entire side seam. So, we have shifted it 3 centimeters outwards at the bust line. What if we shift it outwards by 2 centimeters and not 3 centimeters below the bust? We will then also shift it 3 centimeters outwards in the waistline and then return to the adjustment value of 3 centimeters in the stomach and in the hips. It will be a rather nicely shaped side seam. But let us remember that it features a non-standard transition with a difference of 1 centimeter. It means we will need to make an identical transition on the side seam of the back. I write the adjustment values of the side seam of the front into the table. Column 5. We will make it 3 centimeters at the bust line, 2 centimeters at the under bust line, 2 centimeters in the waist, 3 centimeters in the stomach, and 3 centimeters in the hips. Now let us redefine the side seam contour of the back. Column 7. Looking at all this beauty makes me think she has a full bust, so we can by no means change it along the bust line. The adjustment value will stay as big as it is now. Let us agree upon 1.5 centimeters. We need to make the adjustment value 1 centimeter smaller along the under bust line to keep identical side seam configurations at the front and at the back. It should be 0.5 centimeters then. The incline of the side seams does not change in the waist, so we leave it at 0.5 centimeters. The adjustment value in the stomach and in the hips should be the same as along the bust line, 1.5 centimeters, to preserve the incline of the side seam. So, we have made up our mind about the adjustment values for the side seams of the front and back. Since there are extra centimeters left, we will take advantage of the princess seams of the front and back. These are columns 8 and 9 correspondingly.